With the release of Lucky Boxes, a majority of Clash Royale's player base finally felt that the game was starting to head in the right direction, especially for those that are free to play. While Lucky Boxes aren't perfect and often give unsubstantial rewards, they still felt good. Even at the cost of guaranteed gold and silver chests and a few banner tokens, free-to-play players still felt that given the chance of getting something incredible from the lucky boxes, such as books, elite wildcards, the compromise was well worth it. However, with the announcement and reveal of the next season, Clash Royale seems to once again be falling into the pattern of behavior of 1 step forward, 3 steps back. Just to get started, it was revealed in the trailer that wildcards were going to be completely removed from the season shop. This means that free-to-play players that rely on the season shop to help with their upgrades are going to be left completely stranded. Most free-to-play players, especially at lower arenas, can only rely on using one main deck. Without all their cards being at least level 14, they don't have much choice when it comes to variety if they want to progress. The season shop, or more importantly, the wildcards in it, were needed by these players in order to help level up the deck they can actually use. And it wasn't like the wildcards in the shop were life-saving to begin with. But while there weren't many wildcards in the season shop, getting cards like a log, fireball, or musketeer up even one more level could be game-changing for them. This could change many interactions for them and turn the tide of their progression, especially on Path of Legends, that was unjustly changed to make it even more difficult for low-level players to get the seasonal emote. The season shop won't just be removing the wildcards though, but will instead be adding a slightly wider variety of cards that players can buy, including legendaries. However, this is not an improvement and does next to nothing for most players. While you can say that you can now unlock or work on upgrading these specific cards, most notably these legendaries, it's also very likely that these cards will only appear and be available to those that have reached the arena that the card appears in. So really, they've gutted the season shop for low level and low arena players and made it far less useful for everyone else. I would say at least they still have the books in the shop, but that really was the least they could do since it was already included. The sad fact is, Clash Royale has boiled its reputation down in the eyes of its players to an at least state. It feels like we can't go one season without a new feature or new change that makes us roll our eyes or facepalm. Now let's talk about the next incoming bombshell, and that is the combination of the new Tower Troop and the Battle Ram evolution. Based on the footage that we have of the Dagger Duchess, it seems extremely powerful. However, it is notable that it does have some kind of recharge bar. Once it runs out of a certain amount of daggers, it will have to recharge its daggers, and it appears to recharge one dagger every 1.2 seconds. So there is a way to overpower it if you play your cards right. This Tower Troop is going to be legendary, and with the wildcards being removed from the shop, it's going to be almost impossible for anyone to upgrade it, even though it is going to be made available to everyone upon its release. With the removal of wildcards from the season shop, you can forget about upgrading this card without expecting to shell out a whole lot of money. This combined with the new Battle Ram evolution is going to be an insanely difficult combo to deal with. The Battle Ram by itself is going to be game-breaking. Based on the footage, it destroys anything in its path, and not only that, but it bounces off of buildings and can do so multiple times, inflicting more and more damage, which means that it can go through a cannon and still make it to the tower. Not only this, but cards that would normally stop it, like Barbarians or P.E.K.K.A, are going to get knocked out of the way, and the Barbarians are still going to make it to the tower. It's one thing to make evolution strong, but this is a whole other level of insane. On top of that, the Barbarians that drop the Battle Ram are going to be elite. Moving back to Tower Troops, when Tower Troops were first introduced to the game, I didn't support the idea at all. My thoughts were that by changing the base template of the arena, you would take out the skill factor of many matchups and interactions, and it wasn't going to be as simple as having a bad matchup or just needing to improve your skill or deck. I thought by changing the base template of the game that tower troops would affect the game in an unjustifiably negative way. Things were able to mellow out after the release of the Cannoneer, but that's only the release of one tower troop that was released considerably weaker, perhaps as a way of easing people's worries about the concept. Since then, the Cannoneer has been buffed and is in a majority of top ladder decks. Recently, Clash Royale has updated tower troops so that now you can upgrade them with wildcards, which was celebrated as a victory. But as we all know by now that Clash Royale is disgusted by the idea of holding on to a W, since now wildcards are going to be as scarce as a good update. I want so badly to defend Clash Royale or to give some justifiable reason or trade-off as to why they do what they do, but I can't think of any. Clash Royale's downloads have been dropping significantly year by year and has been dropping further since the release of Evolutions. Clash Royale's revenue has also dropped significantly, which is not surprising, but also insane when you think about how much the prices have gone up in-game. The current Pass Royale is now more than double what it used to be, while also being less valuable. The season shop is getting gutted, making magic items more scarce, which was one of their only saving graces. You can't even say that at least you get wildcards from the daily lucky boxes because you only have a chance to get 20 common wildcards. Whereas with the season shop, you could get over 900 over the course of the season. If a season lasted 31 days and you were unlucky enough to get common wildcards every single day, you would only get 620 of them. Now, with lucky boxes getting a slight buff and the chances of you getting something really good like books on the table, you could probably argue that it's a good trade-off. But why does there need to be a trade-off? Why do we keep seeing a continued pattern of inconsiderate updates and paywalled features when statistically this monetization strategy has not only been hurting their image and player base, but also not helping them make more money? It feels like they've given up on being creative and making good and fun updates and have settled for surviving off of whales. OJ? I've heard many in the community state, in summary, that the only reason this game still has as many players as it does is because the base game is just so good, and that what the game used to be is what's keeping it alive today. It's also been said that as Clash Royale continues to change the game's fundamental features and put high price tags on mediocre content, that the game will eventually run out of steam for good. However, worry not, for redemption lies in the demise of one of Supercell's games, Clash Mini. With Clash Mini shut down, we learned two things. One, the gods can be killed! Supercell games can die. And two, that when it does, Supercell is willing to try and mitigate damage by moving its value that people invested into the game over to another one of their games. So people that spent money on Clash Mini could get the same value that they spent transferred over to another game like Clash Royale. But if Clash Royale got into such a state, Clash Royale wouldn't need to shut down and transfer out their value. They could simply cut the content that made them suffer in the first place and give their players the value back by other means, through gems, gold, books, old unavailable emotes, you name it. Clash Royale, if or when it gets to that point, can bring itself back to a former state of glory, learn from its mistakes, and works toward a better and brighter future for the game. Now, as much as I seem like a hater, I'm not. I love Clash Royale. I wouldn't be making videos or playing it if I didn't. I want what's best for the game and what's best for the community. Everything negative I've talked about has simply been actions that Clash Royale themselves has taken. If that sounded negative to you, welcome to the bandwagon, you're a hater too. I will be here to support, cover, and play Clash Royale as much as I can. But I think it's important to call out negative points and criticize when and where we can in a healthy and respectful way. I'm sure there's more to this story, and I'm sure there's details I missed, and I'm sure I'm not even covering every aspect of Clash Royale in the state it's in. However, I think that this is a relatively good representation of how a majority of people feel and how the game has been going and will go in the near future. For now, free-to-play players need to brace themselves for a difficult, rough, and underwhelming season. If you agree with my thoughts in this video, make sure to share the video with others and get the word out, or at the very least like and subscribe and comment what you think so that this video will get pushed out to as many people as possible. This isn't going to be the last time I make a video like this, so stay tuned for more content like this and also Clash Royale gameplay. But this has been it. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.